Welcome to the ExecMBA podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. So this episode of the podcast is a double feature. I'm excited to feature not one, but two interviews I recorded with students in our class of 2021, Rizki Ridwan and Stephanie Dhue. Rizki and Stephanie are both Global Executive MBA format students, and they are on the same learning team. And I sat down with both of them a few months ago to talk about their respective backgrounds, why they decided to pursue an MBA, what led them to Darden, and how their learning team is helping them manage and navigate the program. As noted, we recorded these interviews a few months ago, and given all that's happening in the world right now, we're taking this opportunity to share some previously recorded content here on the podcast. But our loyal listeners should know that we have identified a solution that will allow us to keep the podcast rolling and recording interviews even during this time of social distancing. So stay tuned for new content, and even more importantly, wherever you are in the world, hope you're staying safe, staying healthy, and as always, thanks for taking time for the podcast. So without further ado, here are my interviews with Rizki Ridwan and Stephanie Dhue. Rizki, welcome to the podcast.
Sure, Brett. Thanks for having me here. I'm really glad here. Thanks.
So I have to guess you're probably the person who's traveled the furthest for a weekend residency who we've managed to get on the podcast. So congratulations, a little bit of history here.
Yeah, great. Thanks. I think I'm really honored to be part of this great program. And I think, it's really, through that, I'm at least a flight of 25 hours from my place in Indonesia, Jakarta, to here. And I think I'm keeping it up and I'm getting used to it. Yeah.
So I'm curious, let's start from the beginning. What do you do for your career? What's your background? What'd you say educationally? Just give us a sense of who you are.
Sure. So I'm Rizki Muhammad Ridwan. So everyone call me Rizki, just like Rizki is kind of risk man, but with Z, Rizki. So I'm from Indonesia, from capital city Jakarta. I'm working there. So Jakarta is kind of a big cities like in New York with kind of 11 million populations, and it's kind of crowded. And I think everything is happening there. So I think I've been in the telecommunication industry so far in the past 15 years, moving around from Singapore, Japan, Myanmar, and now moving back to my home country in Indonesia. And working with a telecommunication company called Indosat Ooredoo, so as a vice president. So basically managing all the strategic projects, transforming the company end-to-end, technology and business-wide. Yeah, I think that's all about me. Yeah.
So telecommunications is your background.
Yes.
So had you always thought about an MBA? Was an MBA always part of your plan?
Yeah, I think it always started when I have my own introspective, what would be the next step in my career. And I would think that, at that time, I would say that I was working a lot of projects outside of my background in engineering, like, for example, finance and business planning. So I think I would think at the time to really learn, formally and really deep dive on those of things. And MBA would cut my plan. And also I have one coaching with my mentors, my CEO at the time. So he was had MBA from the USA, and he suggested me to take MBA because MBA could lead, for better understanding on the what would be the basic the fundamental, and not only that, we can expand my network and get more perspective from all over the students and professors. I think. Yeah.
So a lot of different reasons to pursue an MBA. Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned a conversation with a mentor. Yes. I think for many of our podcast guests, they've talked about having friends or, colleagues or even a manager, similar to you, who suggested to them that an MBA would be a good step.
Exactly.
So, Rizki, I'm curious about how you got interested in Darden. Obviously, Darden's quite a ways away from Indonesia. But certainly some prominent alumni of the business school who are from Indonesia, based in Indonesia currently, very supportive of the school. How did our business school, how did Darden end up on your radar?
Yeah, so I actually found out Darden from the internet at the time, and I found a link that there's Darden provide a full fellowship for Indonesians, a kind of special fellowship, which I really amazed by that. And from that, I found out some alumni who was received that fellowship, and I found out more. And I think it's really true to be good that everything was covered with the fellowship. I found out from that alumni, and yes, it's really really full fellowship and really amazed me, which I really triggered me to apply for it. I think that's kind of Darden is the only business school that provide this kind of thing compared to the other top school in the world, I think. So yeah, I think at that time I really eager to apply, and yeah, now I'm here. It's great.
So Darden is known for having a great educational experience.
Yeah.
You had mentioned, your background in engineering.
Yes.
Darden is a general management school, very much about giving students a broad foundation in business topics. I wonder if the learning experience resonated with you.
Yeah, that's what I felt during my last 3 months. I just started 3 months ago. I found out before I applied that Darden provides one of the best business school that provide that kind of learning experience for students. And I found out here really what I feel that everyone is really helping each other. I really get those perspectives from all the students and professors, and I'm not feeling that I'm studying alone, but there is my learning team, and I think it's really helpful. Not only the bigger class, but also the learning teams, which I think really helped me to understand anything that about the courses taught by the professors. Yeah.
So you are several time zones away from many of your classmates. The program has an in-person component. We are recording this right after a weekend residency here in Roslyn, in the Washington, D.C. area. There's also a virtual component. Third of the program is delivered online through distance learning classes. I'm curious how you manage some of the time difference. You mentioned learning team meetings. What did those look like? You're far away. Everybody else is spread out too.
Yes,
so how does it work?
So the time difference between Jakarta and DC is 12 hours. So Jakarta is 12 hours ahead. So if now it's night here in DC, it's early morning in the next day. So like for example, my online class is on usually Tuesday night DC time. It will be my Wednesday morning 6 a.m. So I really need to get early for that, and I think it's kind of, I have need to be really disciplined on the time management. So I think it's interesting, and also sometimes we have learning team discussions before the classes. So yeah, I need to really sometimes I need to really get permission from my learning team. Hey, because this kind of not really fixed with my time, I will catch up with you later on. So I think, but I'm trying to find the best way how to cope with this time difference. Yeah.
Well, it's certainly, I think we've had students, live all over the world. People always ask, where have people done this program? We've had students in Peru, Costa Rica, Saudi Arabia. You're in Indonesia, obviously. We also had recently in the class of 2019, talked about him here on the podcast before and mentioned him to many prospective students, a student who was based in Fiji. He was an EMBA format student, meaning he traveled to the U.S. quite a bit for the program. And so, yes, you got to figure out the time difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Those sound like early mornings for you when you have those distance classes. So how are you holding up? This first quarter, you just wrapped up your second weekend residency of quarter one, the first 2-month period in the program. This is one of the sort of more intense times. How are you doing?
Yeah, I think I'm feeling great. It's really tiring, but a lot of fun and excitement. I'm trying because I'm really trying now, still adapting and find out with the travel requirements. And I found out that back to the learning experience, I really find out that the class participations really push me to really be more active. I'm quite a bit quiet, but by having this Darden experience, I'm trying to be more open and sharing with others without feeling of it's not bad idea. I mean, there's not such kind of bad idea. Just sharing with others and get more perspective. I think I also look at my LR1 experience, the leadership residency in Charlottesville, which really opened up my mind. One of the key takeaway I took from that is about working collaborations and resilience. I mean, resilience means to have, how to cope with downtime and to always be positive, and more collaborative with others. I think it's kind of a good start for the program to have that kind of LR1. Yeah.
So sometimes engineers, because of their prior educational experiences, the case method, having to participate in class, that's new correct. For them. Is it something you thought a lot about before you came to Darden, the idea that you were going to have to speak up and participation was going to be a pretty good chunk of your grade?
Yeah. When I searched the internet at the time, I found some videos in YouTube and how students participate, right? And it's kind of interesting. But when I really realized that I'm now in that classroom in actual, it's kind of somehow, there's a kind of difficulty in the first time. But when I tried to speak up and along the way, I used to it. And I think, hey, and I say to myself, hey, I can do that. So kind of good. So I can learn something and share with each others.
Well, let's talk about the classes that you're taking right now.
Yes.
I know many of our listeners are curious about the curriculum. We have a foundational core. There's also opportunities for electives. Currently in quarter one, you are taking decision analysis, as it is known, DA, global economics, which is called GEM. And you're taking the professional advancement course led by Connie Dunlop Pack. So alphabet soup, lots of abbreviations. Have you enjoyed these classes? I know that they are some of the more demanding classes, certainly GEM and DA from a quantitative standpoint. And then PAC, everybody loves PAC.
Yeah, based on my background in engineering, looking into numbers, I'm getting used to it for numbers. But I just need to recall whatever. Because it's economics, which I never took economics before. In terms of quantitative, I think I'm okay with that. But in terms of concept, I think I need to catch up with that and learn together with my classmates. For the rest, PAC is really get me excitement because it took me to reflect on myself. Who am I and what I want to be in the next or after, or even from now, right? Starting of the program until the end of the program and after. It's really good that PAC is in the beginning of the program, which really jumpstart for me to really plan ahead what I need to plan for my career next year.
So, coming to Darden, choosing a participatory learning experience. English is not your native language.
Yeah. Sorry for my bad English.
No, you're doing great. I bring it up because I think for some of our international students, they wonder about that, right? You're going to have to speak often. You have to contribute. You have to speak in English. May not be some of our listeners' native language. They may be wondering about that. How did you think about that?
I think, I would think that basic or just kind of intermediate English is enough. We don't need to be really advanced in English, because the main thing is to understand each other and to share the ideas, right? It's not about the language itself, but it's all about how we interact with each other. I think between we and our classmates and we with the professors, right? As long as we really know what will be the object of the conversation, I think it's really enough and great. Yeah.
Well, business can be one of those things. There's lots of terminology, specific vocab.
It's so-called the language of business, right?
Right. In some ways, it's a third language, I suppose.
It's a third language, yes.
So, what's your weekly routine like? We've talked a little bit about some of the time difference. We talked about how it's 25 hours of travel, something like that, for you to get here. So what does it look like for you? Let's talk about a non-residency week where you have typically a couple of distance classes.
Sure.
What does that look like? What's your schedule look like?
So the online class usually my time Wednesday morning and Friday morning. So I really from 6 a.m. to around 9 a.m. So luckily I really supported by my company. So at that time I got the allowance from the company to really attending the class. So and before that class, usually we have kind of pre-discussion with the classmates or learning teams, like from every Monday or my Friday time. So it's kind of full that almost every day we have kind of discussion between me and the rest of my classmates, and I think it's important to keep up this cadence so we are loop in each other, and if there is something issues we can share and ask questions, something like that. Yeah.
And so on these residency weekends, where you've got to come to the Washington, D.C. area, at least, for Friday, Saturday, Sunday classes, when do you travel?
Yeah. Usually I travel my Thursday morning time, which means DC Wednesday night. So, and I arrive here at Friday morning. So that's DC time. So in total, it's at least 25 hours.
And so for our listeners who were like, how is that even possible? The reality is, you were flying from Indonesia.
Yeah, usually I transit in Tokyo. Mm-hmm. So Jakarta, Tokyo, and then this weekend I traveled to JFK in New York, and from New York to DC. Because
three legs. Wow, and crossing the international date line. If
it crossed the Pacific Ocean, if I go from here to DC, it's kind of longer time. But from go back is I miss one day, so it's kind of getting shorter. In the first time I really confused. Hey, why I miss one day? Where's my day?
That is a good question. I will say I talked to our Fijian student quite a bit about this, and I'm still trying to wrap my brain around how exactly it works. But so how do you talked about resilience, and I'm curious about, clearly, for you, logistics are more complicated and take more energy than for, I would venture a guess, no offense to our other students in the class of 2021, take more energy, more complicated than for anyone else in your class. How do you keep your spirits up? How do you remain resilient in the face of that?
I think I remember, and that's exactly true, that at the time the professor explain or share with us what would be the best way to improve our resilience. And I think it's simple. Just have more pauses in our activities. Pauses mean, like, for example, it's simple activities. Like for me, take prayer. I'm a Muslim, so I pray 5 times a day, I think. And the professor really agreed with me at the time. Having prayer or for the other student is kind of yoga or breathing exercise, kind of. Soul and mind is really focused. Don't think about work or study first. Just focus on your to get your soul up again, something like that. Resilient we can get easily by, like, at home by playing with my kids, with my children. It's the best moment that I have now. The happiest moment is to play with my children. So I have 2 children. 10 years old and 6 years old. I really miss them now. So I think that kind of simple thing that we really need to get more frequency so that our resilience can be improved.
So what do the members of your family think about your MBA? I mentioned your 2 kids. I know you've got a wife as well. But what do they think about this journey that you're on?
Yeah, I'm really glad to have a great wife and great children really supporting me for this. They I don't see they are really regretting for me, but really supporting me. And I mean, from the beginning, from the application, I already discussed with my wife and family. I think that's the most important thing before you apply, is really to open up and communicate with your loved one, with your families. What will be the details, the scheduling, and etc. Right? I think it's really important so that we can really proceed with the program nicely without any conflict with our family. I mean, not only family, but also the employer. I mean, the employer also is really important to open with them and what will be and working together, how to cope and getting, getting well up to my graduations. Hopefully.
Has your family been to the Washington, D.C. area before?
Hopefully. So, I mean, hopefully, yes. I mean, we are planning. Yeah, let's see. Hopefully soon. I mean,
well, hopefully they'll have a chance to go down to Charlottesville too, and have the full experience.
At least during the graduations. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Sometimes I'm curious about your kids' experience with this. Some of our podcast guests have said that their kids who are of school age, similar age to your children, they get so excited because their parent is also in school. So everybody's in school. Is that your kids' experience too?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw them my video, right, and then they see that kind of teacher, and he asked me, he called me Papa. Hey Papa, is he your teacher? And are they the student? Why student is really a big guy, not like Miss Mom? Oh yeah, they are. I mean, she's trying to. She's still learning. There's like universities, like schools, right? Like what she knows, like it's school is for kids. But yeah, it's interesting to get kind of that question. So.
That's so funny. School is for kids, and so obviously your classmates are not kids. Maybe kids at heart. So one of the things that is also true is sometimes when kids find out that there's distance classes and you can be on the camera, they like to be on the camera.
Yeah, I think I also have one experience with one of the class. I think I remember that's the jam with Professor Peter DeBerre. And at the time, my daughter just came to me, and Peter saw my daughter, and during the class, Peter just, hey, look, there's pretty girl. Yeah, and I just talked to him. This is my daughter, and my daughter is like shy and just running away. It's funny.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's been said many times. I think it's worth repeating that when our students, with families, come to this program, their families are also coming to the program with them. It's in metaphorical sense. Obviously they're making sacrifices, supporting the student, making it possible for the student to be here and to be present for these experiences. We're ever so grateful for their willingness to do that, and I know our students are as well.
Yeah.
So. You mentioned a lot about the motivation for you to pursue an MBA and what attracted you to Darden. I'm curious about what you're hoping to get out of the program. 21 months goes by, you're at graduation, your family is there with you. When you look back on it, what do you hope to accomplish?
Well, I'm actually still figuring out, but I mean, one of the points that I'm bringing from the beginning is I would like to contribute to my current company more, because I mean, now studying in the same time as working, hopefully I can like giving a real-time return to my employer, who's really giving me time so I can contribute more. I think that's really clear for me for now. But I mean, for ahead, I'm still figuring out, particularly I would like to get more responsibility and more impact in my company, but in a way how I think that's what I'm still learning and getting the concept in class, how to plan my after graduation later on. Yeah.
Do you feel like the program is making you better at your job? Do you feel like what you're learning, admittedly, it's very early, but decision analysis, global economics, even some of the introspection that's being sparked by PAC. Can you feel how it's changing your perspective?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway, the biggest impact so far is about that I mentioned earlier, is about the introspective part, about that resilience, about that collaborations, is really that one I need to work on and improve on. Yeah, of course, the rest of the thing, the DA and the GEM is really giving me a broader perspective about how the economy can really impact on companies, like there's a case. DA also is giving me more tools for my analytical thinking. I think it's really great, yeah.
Well, I'm sure that will only continue as you go forward. Now, you, I believe, have a global residency coming up.
I'm looking for that next month.
So
Brazil.
I will get to go to Brazil with you, which I'm excited about. So it's going to be great. Have you ever been to Brazil?
No.
Neither have I. So we will be there together. What led you to choose GEMBA? What was appealing to you about the GEMBA format?
Yeah, I think it related to my objective in the beginning, like. As I said before, I've been so far working in a couple of countries, and I feel that being a global perspective is a must at this time. I mean, now, working in a company is not really talking about certain countries, but it can cross the boundaries. So being a global is a line of a must at this time. So GEMBA is really fits with that needs, or fits with that objective. So I believe that GEMBA would, based on my talk with my Indonesian alumni, couples of it, GEMBA. So it's already give more perspective, a global impact or whatever it is, and I think it's important to be not only understanding local but being global. Yeah.
Well, you'll certainly get a full look at the Brazilian economy and some company visits and obviously some cultural experiences. It will be great to be there. I know I'm looking forward to that trip. We're hoping to take the podcast on the road, so maybe we'll ask you how the residency is going.
Sure.
Hope to do our first truly international edition. Yeah. So I'm curious about advice that you might have to share with prospective students. We ask the same question of all of our podcast guests, and feel like since you've successfully navigated the application process, obviously you're in the program now, you almost have one quarter behind you. What's one tip or piece of advice you would share with prospective students?
Yeah, sure. I think beside the one that I have discussed earlier regarding talking and open up to your family and employer about that, I think the most important is to really have criteria before we choose business school. Like, for example, I set up some criteria in the beginning, like the learning experience. Because I believe that I cannot really study alone for this kind of program. So I need really strong support from the professors and classmates. I think that's kind of criteria really fit with Darden at the time. So, and I think, that would be my two top list recommendations for anyone who's prospective students actually looking for MBA.
Well, it certainly resonates with much of the feedback that has been shared. Talk to your family, talk to the important people in your life, talk to your coworkers, set those expectations before you start, remain in communication once you start. Obviously, I'm sure you'll have a lot to share with your family when you arrive back home about the weekend you've just had. We had a club night, meet all the student organizations in our Executive MBA program. And then yesterday, very exciting, partner plus one event. So got a chance to meet some of your classmates, partners and significant others and friends. And then the piece as well about being resilient and finding your way through, being introspective, sort of focusing on yourself and how you want to develop and thinking about all these kinds of things. That's also sage advice. So, well, Rizki, I realize it's been a very full weekend. You have a long flight ahead of you. Thank you for taking time. It's a pleasure sitting down with you. And congratulations on being currently the title holder of the ExecMBA podcast guest who has traveled the furthest for a weekend residency.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. Really great for this. Thanks.
And that was my interview with Rizki Ridwan, a global Executive MBA format student in our class of 2021. And now Here's my conversation with Stephanie Dhue, his learning teammate, and also a Global Executive MBA format student in our class of 2021. Stephanie, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Brett.
All right, so tell us a little bit more about you. Who are you and what's your background?
Well, I've worked in television news for most of my career. I am a producer covering politics in Washington, kind of the intersection between business and politics, covering the Trump administration, trade, presidential politics. It's keeping me busy.
And you had a chance to cover some of the recent debates, right?
Yep. Was in Ohio last week and made it to Detroit. And gosh, it all gets confusing. There was another one too. Houston. So
are you used to making these rounds every 4 years? Are you on the cycle where you go out to the debates?
We haven't been as interested this early in the cycle previously. Of course, we haven't had 12 candidates on the stage. I don't know if that's for better or for worse. So not always.
A lot of potential storylines. I gather so many candidates, and obviously roughly 380 days, at least at the time of this podcast, until the actual election. So a lot of news to fill.
Yeah, there's a lot of time between. A lot of things can happen between now and then.
So, given your background, is an MBA something you had thought about for a while? Had it been part of your plan?
I have, because I've done business news while I've always worked in Washington, having covered business news, financial scandals, and various stories. I kind of felt like I had lived some of what would be the case studies, but I wanted to know more. So having a wide breadth I felt a positive, but I wanted to have that deeper knowledge. So I'd thought about an MBA for a long time before I finally pulled the trigger and said, yeah, I actually really want to do it.
So we always talk with people on the podcast about what's the thing that gave them the nudge, that helped them sort of figure out that, like, now is the time for me to do this.
Why now? I think it was just the right time for me. I felt like I have done a lot of things in my career, and I have a passion for business news, but I also have a passion for finding sustainable business models for independent journalism. So that kind of seemed like a natural way to bridge that gap, and it just felt like now it's important.
It is a time when there's so much discussion about the future of journalism, where all this is going, although also at the same time, you hear that subscription rates for some of the leading newspapers in the United States through the roof. New York Times, Washington Post, both things seem to be going pretty well right now. How do you interpret all of this?
Some of it, I think, is it depends on where you look. The big organizations with good financial backing are going to be okay. It's kind of the little bit network effects, but your small, independent, rural papers, they're gone, and finding the replacement there is critical, because without that community reporting, just having the big national stories isn't enough.
So do you think that there's a way to make news and journalism more sustainable so that local regional papers can thrive? It seems like the past few years, just my own hometown, Charlotte, North Carolina, a lot of consolidation. So the Columbia, South Carolina paper, the Charlotte paper, the Raleigh paper, they're all kind of one thing now. And a lot of the same stories. So you lose a little bit of that, to your earlier point, local feel.
Yeah, I do think that there's a way. I don't know what the way is, but I think people have to want to pay for it. And the generation that grew up with advertising supported media don't see the reason to take money out of their pocket to pay for journalism, or that's something that they should be concerned about.
So in your class, I know a little bit about the people who are in the room. Really not a lot of people who share your particular background. But I imagine at your work every day, there's a lot of people who share your background. So what's that like, coming into class and really being one of the few journalists in the room?
Actually, the diversity in the class is great. It's sort of refreshing to talk to people that aren't immersed in the same world that I am, and to get different viewpoints, because there can be in journalism a little bit of groupthink. So it's nice to be able to, sort of come out of that and think about different things and have, conversations you might not have otherwise.
So what put Darden on your radar?
Well, knowing some alumni helped, and being here in the Washington, D.C. area, that also put it on the radar.
So one of the things that is true, I think, generally about our students is that they have very full plates while they're pursuing their education. So what else do you have going on in addition to work? What's your personal life like?
Well, my children have just left home, so my nest is empty. That was also part of the timing felt right now, because, they're gone. So it's me and my husband, and he's a little frustrated, I think, right now, because he's like, are we going to get to go away? When are we going to do something together? I'm like, soon, plan something and we'll do it. So he's been great and very supportive. So that's my plate.
Yeah, I think for everybody, it's juggling school, personal, and work at the same time. They are obviously competing priorities. You can only have one top priority at any given time. We talked a lot on the podcast about how time is one of the more challenging things, time management. How have you found it? Your early days, yet just completed quarter one, so quarter two on the horizon. How's it going?
So far, so good. There's 24 hours in the day, so I haven't figured out a way to make it more than that, although one of my learning team members is from Indonesia, so I joked that we should be 25/8, because we did kind of find to manage to distance find more time, but no, there's not more than 24 hours in the day.
What an interesting complexity. We've had Rizki on the podcast. His interview is forthcoming. He has talked about trying to navigate some of that time difference. Obviously, when he travels to weekend residencies, it's a bit of an arduous experience.
Oh my gosh. Now I don't know how he does it, but he's we've sort of come up with Sunday nights for us is Monday morning for him. So it kind of works. He's like, I'm going to be late. We're going to meet tonight after we get done. And he said, I'll be a little bit late because I got to take my daughter to school. So we're just a little, we're figuring it out.
But it's global. Though.
It's global, and it's so funny. We have these, conversations, and he's like, "I don't get boo hiss," or I'm learning new things because we're just joking. So yeah, that's a lot of fun too. So really, like I said, a diverse group of people that you wouldn't always encounter in every day. And I'm a journalist, and that's sort of some of what I do is find people that aren't just other journalists to talk to.
So quarter one for you was decision analysis, global economics, and the professional advancement course. Let's sort of take DA and global economics as a thing, and then we'll talk about professional advancement. How did you find the material?
Well, I actually thought I was going to be really good at global economics, but I really, there was a lot to learn, which is good. I was definitely challenged in that class, kind of feeling like, listening to Ben Bernanke and Jerome Powell over the last several years that I, would have had that course already, but I actually didn't study the ISLM curve that much. So that was a challenge. And decision analysis was a great class. The professor really made it something that could be very scary, less scary. He was like, this isn't how to make a decision. It's how to make maybe a better decision and how to put some numbers behind your decision. So your decision, whatever your decision is, when we get done with this case study, he would never tell people like, no, that's wrong. But he would be like, he had one, it still stuck with me. He said, friends don't let friends invest in projects with a negative net present value. So it's that kind of thing. I mean, it's just humor and And yeah, it could have been a lot of spreadsheets and just number crunching. And I found it very relevant. And one of those things that was like, ooh, I wish I'd learned this a long time ago, because that would have been useful.
Yeah, both Darden legends, Global Economics with Peter DeBear, which I think all of our executive format students who've come through at least the past few years really remember Global Economics. He's obviously such a energetic presence in the classroom.
It's super passionate and really super smart too.
And Robert Carraway, also a Darden legend. I'm thrilled to have him teaching this class. It's I think having had the opportunity to do some admissions events with him, he's just very clear communicator. And it's a class that can feel intimidating to people because it is spreadsheets. And, we talk a lot that this is a program where we have a lot of people with a lot of different kinds of backgrounds, academically as well as professionally. And so many of our students have not had a lot of math, or they may not do Excel every day. So that class can feel intimidating. Yeah,
it really could. And he kept it from being that way. Although I still working on the crystal ball.
So, how about professional advancement? I mean, you're someone who's really built a career in journalism. What is the value of the professional advancement course for you?
There's a lot of value to it. And actually having those other two classes that were challenging along with the professional advancement course, I felt like I would have liked to have had more time to do the kind of reflective and thoughtfulness that's needed for that class. Because it really is, who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going next? What skills do I need to get from point A to point B? Those are big things to think about. And I think having it, I understand they've done it later in prior years. So having it up front felt in some ways overwhelming. Like, I have to think about this now too, but in some ways like really important, because it's going to take that much time to get there.
Yeah, you do have 20 plus months to kind of think about all these things. I think that's one of the reasons why we did move it up, is asking those questions at the outset. I mean, we don't expect you to know the answer necessarily right now. You might have some answers to those questions, and those answers might change. You're going to go through a series of exercises and experiences. Obviously, in the program, you're going to have conversations and do all this learning and meet all these interesting people. I mean, these things evolve, and so now you have the full breadth of the program, and it felt like the right thing to start students with. But I know these are huge questions. Well,
and there were a lot of exercises that just required a lot of thoughtfulness, and it's finding that 25th hour in the day to think about it.
Consider Indonesia then. Perhaps.
Yes, if you travel, you can get one more.
So, I guess the way to express it is you're 1/10 of the way through the program at this point, maybe a little bit more if we count LR1.
I'm counting it.
We should. What are you looking forward to? Obviously, early days, but what's on your agenda?
Well, we're getting ready to go to Brazil, the first global residency, and that has me very excited. And we get to study accounting there. So, yeah, having to find a 25th hour to figure that all out, too. I'm really looking forward to that. Just having that on my radar has made me more interested. I would have been interested in what's going on in Brazil anyway, because it's a bit of a turbulent time there, and things are changing, and what's happening with the rainforest. I mean, there's just so much going on. I'm really excited to be able to learn about it and go there.
Yeah, it's interesting. The rainforest obviously bubbled up a few weeks ago as a big story, with it being on fire, and there's a sort of global component to that, not just on the environment.
Sure. I mean, I've been thinking about it in terms of trade, because I've done a lot of trade coverage and talking to farmers in the Midwest, saying, we're getting left out of markets. And if, Brazil and Australia had the kind of technology and wherewithal that we had, we would really be getting clobbered, because they have been able to pick up a lot of markets for soy and beef and pork.
how interesting for you to be on that trip with your classmates and to be able to share those conversations.
Yeah, and they have great conversations about what they're doing there too. So I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Have you ever been to Brazil?
I have not.
So what would be your advice to prospective students as they think about this program, the decision to pursue an MBA?
I would say you're gonna have to pull the trigger. It's a lot of time. It's a big commitment. There's no good time, only maybe like degrees of bad. So, I mean, seeing what some of my classmates are juggling, it doesn't make me feel like I'm some superstar, because everybody's got a lot going on. I really like the people in this program because while they're serious people, they don't take themselves too seriously. They like to have fun. So it's not all drudgery. It's fun. I would tell prospective students to, definitely come and see for yourself, visit a class, come to a networking event, meet some people, see if the vibe is for you. I mean, that was what really excited me about Darden, because the people were just great and so friendly, and the teamwork, and it really feels like a community and a little bit of a family. So if this is going to be your family for a couple years, kick the tires, visit, see if this is really where you want to be. Yeah. I think that, I answer the question. So I think that everybody should answer it the same way I did, but people are different. So.
Sure. I mean, we believe a lot in the power of the class visit. And, one of the reasons why we think it's important for you to get a feel for the community is not just the 2 years, but even beyond that. You think about the alumni relationships.
Actually, I talked to an alumni today.
So how have those conversations been? You're an executive format student here, just getting started. How did those conversations go?
Good. You can, share stories. This has been my experience. This is, where I was, and kind of like get some of the same teachers, people will have, and, someone that you didn't have anything in common with, suddenly you have all these things in common with, even though, you wouldn't have known that were it not for the sort of Darden on their resume list.
So you have a global residency upcoming, you've got new classes. How is your learning team helping you manage through all of this? You had mentioned that you have navigated some of the global, time difference, and that you have this sort of ongoing conversation. How are they helping you manage the work? We kind of try to teach each other. And we've also added in some places, because on some of the stuff we're like, okay, nobody knows what we're doing here with the decision analysis and the spread. Like, what were we even supposed to figure out here? So we'll talk it through, and then we'll be like, okay, we're going to call a friend. And we reached out to another learning team, say, hey, you guys want to join with us because we're struggling? And they said yes. So it's, helping each other in that way, and finding, new connections and ways to interact. They've been a really supportive group. So it's really important. We hear a lot from students that sort of group collaboration is how they manage the workload. I mean, it's obviously, you mentioned, that the content is challenging, and you got to read cases and get ready for class, and the group can be really helpful in terms of divide and conquer or helping fill in your gaps. Yeah,
we've got we're going to get together tonight and figure out how to do the asset allocations and for the accounting course. And I'm hoping somebody is better versed in it than I am. I haven't dug into it as much as I should, but I will between now and then.
You got some time. Accounting is sometimes one of those courses that our prospective students are a little bit nervous about. Just might be a course they've avoided or just not had exposure to previously.
Well, I kind of get it, looking at balance sheets occasionally and financial reports from time to time, although we have a team that helps, that's their focus, and they help with that. So I get some of the terminology, but yeah, like where to put it, not always.
So the technical aspects.
The technical aspects, yeah.
So one last question, When you think about, going forward, this is obviously a very big question. It's almost like a packed question. But you think about going forward with your career. You graduate from Darden, you're a journalist with an MBA. Obviously, a tremendous amount of experience in the field. Where do you see yourself going?
I hope to be a leader in the journalistic community, to be able to say, hey, look, these are ways that we can sustain independent journalism. And it's important because we need it for our democracy. And let's get the word out and do that. And maybe my leadership class will help me with that. And really being able to find those models. That's kind of, I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but that's kind of where I see myself in a role, either, within a strong organization that's, that I can help with those business models and also with the journalism and, pointing out like, hey, we need to do these things.
Do you think that there's a case to be made for more journalists getting MBAs?
Why not? Especially, I think that as journalism has become kind of specialty, it used to be, most people were general assignment, but now it's become more focused. I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on TV. So having a business degree, I think that would help you be specialized or a data scientist or whatever kind of specialty. I think that the days of being general assignment are a bit old-fashioned.
So you really do need to be able to take that deep dive into a particular area?
I think so, yeah. It helps.
So I could see in that world, an MBA would give you a really keen understanding of business in particular, but global picture, all the kind of stuff.
Sure, economics, accounting, finance. I thought that I had learned a lot of it and did along the way, but it isn't as deep as I wanted it to be. So I would make the argument that, many more journalists should have business degrees and understand. Journalists can be, and rightfully so, right? Like there's a firewall, the business side and the journalism side. But I think that the journalists need to understand, what's sustaining them.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think the thing that we talked about, I can remember our conversation when you were a prospective student, is that you had been exposed to a lot of business. But there's a sort of random aspect to that.
Sure.
Just what came across your desk.
You're covering, WorldCom and Enron and subprime loans. And yeah, it can be quite random.
So here you get that sort of comprehensive, all right, let's talk about accounting. Here's what you need to know, and here's how you might think about it as a manager. Yeah,
not here's an earnings report and take 10 minutes and then give me, 30 seconds on it.
That's right. And those were my interviews with Rizki Ridwan and Stephanie Dhue, two Global Executive MBA format students in our class of 2021 and learning teammates. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at exec, that's ExecMBA @darden.virginia.edu. Until next time, thanks for listening and be well.